There's an old proverb, YOLO. You only live once. But when you lose somebody, the phrase takes on a whole new meaning. You look for comfort, but what if when the person you lose is the person that you seek for comfort? In this story, the Ben loses his sister and he doesn't know how to cope with it. In Yearbook by Brad Dans. You know that girl from the Brady Bunch? You know, the Marsha one? Yeah, that's me. I mean, it's not that I'm jealous of my sister, just that I go out of my way to wake up early for her so I can take her and her friends to school. And me, well, okay, so I'm jealous, but it's cool, it's normal. It's okay to be jealous of your 13-year-old sister. When it comes to my sister, I'm pretty protective of her. And with good reason. She's 13, but she looks about 16, and you know at that age, the boys. So I gotta protect her. You know what's funny? I remember the day that she got caught skipping school. I did that once, and my butt was on lockdown for a good 3 months. And Maggie never gets in any trouble. She's always looked like a princess. I'm not. Not that I'd want to be a princess or anything. Anyway, she always got off easy at school, and an afternoon of detention. But the hard part was telling our parents. They would look at you and just stare. Silence. I mean, I would rather be yelled at or bombarded with screaming. It's so awkward when you just get the silent stare. And Maggie, she didn't want to go through that. So I get this call from Maggie on the way home from basketball practice saying that she's in a whole lot of trouble and she really, really needs my help. Maggie never needs my help. So I'm here thinking, oh crap, she's in prison. Then she tells me that she got caught skipping. So I picked her up. When I got there, she started to cry. It wasn't that often that she cried in front of me, because she always puts up that tough guy act. But when she did, it made me realize that she was still a little girl. You know, Ben, I'm so sorry, I won't do it again. Please don't tell Mom and Dad, please, Ben. Now here it is, weeks before graduation, and I am pumped. A few weeks back, there was announced that there would be an assembly for the seniors. One final time to be together before we left. The assembly was at 4, and Maggie needed to be picked up at 4:45. Clearly, that wasn't going to happen. So on the day of the assembly, Maggie reminded me that Sarah's mom was taking me home, and not to check up on her. So after the assembly, I got in my car, but out of nowhere, I started to feel just sick. I figured the pain was either the tacos that I ate for lunch in the cafeteria, which, pretty likely, or nerves about graduating. Sat there a minute and just waited for my nerves to calm down. When I left, I drove by Maggie's school, which was on the way home. When I looked over in the parking lot, I saw a couple of ambulances with a crowd of people gathered around them, and I thought, wow, I bet they serve those tacos at Maggie's school too. Let me tell you something. If there's one thing I'm looking forward to about college, it's having to not eat that disgusting cafeteria food. 3 weeks ago, the chess team had an end-of-the-year banquet catered by the lunch ladies. The chess team is pretty much the pride and joy of our school, since our football team sucks and everything else is pretty much non-existent. But that's besides the point. The lunch ladies managed to practically poison the entire student body and the chess team before nationals. The culprit? Bad lettuce. Lettuce. Seriously, who gets sick from lettuce? And you know what? Based on that story, I knew whatever happened over at Maggie's school couldn't be that bad. When I got home, I heard my parents in the kitchen. By the way things sounded, it seemed that they had gotten into yet another argument. I could hear my mother crying and yelling and screaming. Now, usually, I'd leave them alone, but I'm nosy. When I walked in, I knew that something was going on. And then I see the blood drain out of my mother's face. She looked at me, then looked at my father, and tears were pouring out of her eyes. What's going on here? What's the problem? Then my father started to cry. They said my sister died about 25 minutes after the accident. Apparently the father of some girl lost control of the car and... I mean, here I am joking about bad lettuce, and she can't even breathe. And I couldn't do anything. I went back to the school a week later. When I walked to lunch that day, a man who I thought was Maggie's principal came up to me. He introduced himself and told me that he was sorry to hear about what happened. He said something about the grief group meeting for the 8th grade the next day and invited me to come. The teacher all of her friends and teachers had signed her yearbook, and they wanted me to read a few things from it. I mean, I do it, but then He said, "Look, Ben, it's short notice, but we'd really like you there." As I walked to the auditorium that day, I started reconsidering reading Maggie's yearbook. But after being introduced by Mr. McGee, I looked into the crowd of about 200 or so and I thought, here we go. "Mags, you are my best friend now and always will be. I will never forget your smile. I miss you so much, and I just want to tell you that I love you. Your best friend, Sarah." I thought back to when Maggie got stuck in the raft at the water park, and even when my parents were right there, she asked for me. About an hour had passed, and there were only a few more signings for me to read. After I finished the last one, I sat there for a minute and just looked out at these people. I was about to say something, but I got choked up. When I regained my composure, I looked back and said, "Thank you all for coming here today. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure that it means a lot to Maggie. Thank you for writing these amazing things in my sister's yearbooks. But most of all, thank you for making me feel like Maggie's brother again."